The first thing to leave a warrior's body was not fear. It was the belief that fear deserved a vote. Before sunrise, long before the earth had released the darkness of night, a boy in ancient Sparta would wake among others, being shaped for the same purpose. The cold was not considered an interruption. Hunger was not considered a mistake. Exhaustion was not accepted as proof that the training had gone too far. The body would complain, the mind would bargain, the answer would remain the same: continue. The Spartan system should never be romanticized. It belonged to a violent society, built on domination and forced labor. Discipline can produce courage, but it can also produce cruelty. It is not automatically noble. Discipline is a force. Its value depends on the purpose it serves, the standard it protects, and the person it is shaping. Centuries later, Roman recruits marched under weight, dug camps after exhausting journeys, crossed water, practiced formations, and struck wooden posts until essential movements no longer required debate. The purpose was not theatrical suffering. The purpose was preparation. When pressure arrived, the soldier could not depend on motivation. Motivation might disappear. Courage might arrive too late. The mind might fill with noise, panic, heat, pain, and confusion, so the body had to know what to do before fear began offering alternatives. This is one of the oldest laws of human performance. Under pressure, you do not rise to the level of what you intended to become. You fall to the level of what you repeatedly trained yourself to do. Modern weakness rarely appears as a visible wound. It appears as a reasonable voice. Stay in bed for another 20 minutes. Check the phone before beginning. Avoid the difficult call until you feel more confident. Spend the money. You deserve relief. Say the angry sentence. They need to understand. Stop the workout. You can begin properly next week. Weakness rarely introduces itself honestly. It learns your vocabulary. It borrows the language of recovery, self-respect, preparation, freedom, balance, and timing. Then it hides inside those words. The undisciplined person is not always lazy. More often, he is divided. One part chooses a standard. Another part reserves the right to abandon that standard when the cost becomes real. The rested mind promises to rise early. The tired body cancels the agreement. The calm mind promises restraint. The insulted ego rewrites the law. The ambitious mind promises focused work. The bored nervous system reaches for another screen. The person calls this freedom, but often it is only obedience to whichever impulse happens to speak the loudest. That is the real subject of this video. Not how to become fearless, not how to become emotionless, not how to become a statue that never experiences pain, doubt, anger, fatigue, embarrassment, or temptation. The real question is harder. How do you train the body to experience these things without automatically obeying them? Before this video ends, you will have a 4-part system for doing exactly that. Locate, command, fortify, return. You will also use those 4 orders in a 7-day test, not to transform your entire life, not to create a dramatic new identity, to win one repeated moment in which your feelings have been overruling your decisions. Choose that moment now. Perhaps it is the alarm. Perhaps it is the phone beside your work. Perhaps it is the purchase you make when life feels empty. Perhaps it is the workout you abandon when discomfort begins. Perhaps it is the conversation in which anger controls your mouth. Perhaps it is the task you continue postponing because beginning would force you to discover what you are capable of. Choose one scene. Keep it in your mind. Everything that follows will return to it. You cannot command a battlefield you refuse to examine. Most people describe their weakness too broadly. I am lazy. I am unmotivated. I am bad with money. I have no self-control. I always procrastinate. These statements may feel honest, but they are strategically useless. A commander does not study a broken defense and conclude that the army is simply bad. He asks where the line failed, at what hour, under what pressure, after which signal, through which opening. Your discipline is not equally weak throughout the day. It has preferred times, emotions, locations, and disguises. Perhaps you lose control after poor sleep. Perhaps criticism makes you abandon judgment. Perhaps uncertainty makes you delay. Perhaps boredom sends your hand toward the phone. Perhaps loneliness makes you spend. Perhaps shame turns one mistake into an abandoned week. Return to the scene you selected. Study what happens immediately before surrender. What sensation appears first? Heat in the face? Tension in the chest? Heaviness in the limbs? Restlessness in the hands? A tightening in the stomach? Then listen for the sentence that follows. I deserve a break. I will begin when I feel ready. One mistake has already ruined the day. Another 5 minutes will not matter. This purchase will make me feel better. They cannot speak to me like that. This is the conversion point. The body reports a sensation. The mind converts that sensation into permission. Fatigue becomes permission to quit. Anxiety becomes proof of danger. Embarrassment becomes permission to escape. Desire becomes permission to abandon the future. The phone, the food, the bed, the unfinished task, and the difficult conversation are not the deepest problem. The deeper problem is the moment in which temporary discomfort is promoted into authority. Modern life makes this easier because relief is almost always available. A screen can remove boredom in seconds. Food can change a mood before hunger exists. Shopping can create a temporary sense of movement when life feels stagnant. Messages can provide instant approval. Entertainment can protect us from silence. Comfort is not evil. Rest, safety, warmth, medicine, technology, and abundance are not moral failures. The danger begins when constant relief teaches the nervous system that discomfort means something has gone wrong. Then, ordinary effort begins to feel like injury. Waiting feels intolerable. Focused work feels unnatural. Criticism feels like violence. Silence feels empty. A delayed reward feels unfair. A person can become weak, not because life has defeated him, but because nothing has been allowed to test him long enough to prove that the sensation could be survived. The first order replaces shame with observation. Do not say, I am weak. Say, command is usually lost here. That difference matters. Shame turns behavior into identity. Observation turns behavior into information. Identity feels permanent. Information can be used. Tonight, review your day for 3 minutes. Do not ask whether you felt motivated. Ask where authority changed hands. Where did your original decision become secondary to your temporary mood? Where did the body provide information, and where did you mistakenly treat that information as law? Do not insult yourself. Do not give a speech about failure. Find where the line broke. Tomorrow, that is where you place the guard. A Roman recruit stands before a wooden post, driven into the earth. There is no cheering crowd. No enemy charges toward him. No glory waits at the end of the exercise. There is only the post, the shield, the practice weapon, and the command to strike. Again, again, again. The post does not praise him. It does not care that he is tired. That is why it matters. A person can perform once, while angry, inspired, watched, or afraid. Repetition asks a more revealing question. Can you perform after the emotion that began the action has disappeared? The second order is command, but command does not mean controlling the entire future. It means deciding the first visible action. Many people fail because their commands are too large. Become fit, build a business, repair the relationship, master your emotions, rebuild your life, become financially free. The body cannot perform abstractions. It performs actions. Put on the shoes, open the document, transfer the money, close the mouth, stand up, dial the number, begin the first 5 minutes. Your first action matters because resistance is often strongest before movement begins. Before the document opens, the task can become an enormous imagined threat. Before the shoes are on, the workout can feel impossible. Before the call begins, the conversation can grow into a catastrophe. But once action starts, the body receives new information. The task is no longer an imaginary wall. It becomes a sequence. This is why a small command is not a weak command. A small command can survive bad conditions. A 2-hour routine may work when you are rested, inspired, and undisturbed. A 10-minute minimum can survive poor sleep, a chaotic schedule, low motivation, and an imperfect day. Intensity creates stories. Consistency creates evidence. You are trying to give the body evidence that your word is real. Every time you abandon a task at the first wave of fatigue, you do more than end one session. You practice retreat. Every time anger becomes permission to speak without control, you rehearse surrender. Every time boredom sends your hand automatically toward the phone, you train the nervous system to expect immediate evacuation. Weakness becomes physical through repetition. Strength must become physical in the same way. The body does not record what you admire. It records what you repeat. You may believe you value courage, but if you repeatedly avoid necessary conversations, the body learns avoidance. You may believe you value health, but if every uncomfortable session is abandoned, the body learns that effort is an emergency. You may believe you are calm, but if every insult creates an instant reaction, your nervous system learns that another person can command your behavior with a sentence. Identity is not built from the standards you praise. It is built from the actions you repeatedly permit. Return to the battlefield you selected. Now complete this sentence. When that moment arrives, my first physical action will be, make the action small, visible, and impossible to misunderstand. When the alarm sounds, my feet touch the floor. When work begins, the phone leaves the room. When anger rises, my mouth closes until I take one full breath. When income arrives, the planned amount moves to savings. When anxiety appears before the necessary call, I dial before rehearsing another excuse. When I want to abandon a safe workout, I complete the next controlled repetition before deciding. Do not choose an emotion. I will feel confident is not a command. I will be disciplined is not a command. I will try harder is not a command. A command tells the body what to do, but command is not blind violence against the body. Pain may indicate injury. Exhaustion may indicate the need for recovery. Fear may reveal genuine danger. Discipline does not silence information. It prevents information from automatically becoming authority. A disciplined athlete distinguishes muscular effort from sharp or worsening pain. A disciplined worker distinguishes temporary boredom from genuine cognitive exhaustion. A disciplined person in conflict distinguishes wounded pride from an actual violation requiring a boundary. The goal is not to ignore the body. The goal is to interpret it without panic and without vanity. A commander who destroys his own forces through meaningless exhaustion is not strong, he is incompetent. Controlled hardship should improve judgment inside discomfort. It should not turn suffering into a religion. Choose the first action, then perform it intelligently. The command must serve the mission. Before moving further, imagine tomorrow. The alarm sounds. For years, this moment has begun a negotiation. The body asks for comfort. The mind produces arguments. You remember that sleep is important. You promise to begin tomorrow. You calculate how little 20 minutes will matter. But this time, the decision has already been made. You do not need to feel powerful. You do not need to win the entire morning. Your feet touch the floor. That is all. A few hours later, you sit down to work. The task becomes confusing. Your hand moves toward the phone. Again, you do not need to feel focused. The command is already waiting. The phone leaves the room. You return to the page for 5 minutes. That evening, someone criticizes you. Heat enters your chest. The old weapon rises toward your mouth. You close it. One breath, then one question. 3 moments, 3 small actions. None of them dramatic, but something has changed. Your feelings are still present. They are no longer alone in command. This is where many people make a mistake. They believe discipline means becoming a person who no longer wants comfort. That person may never exist. The victory is not the disappearance of the argument. The victory is that the argument no longer changes the order, but a command without protection will eventually be overwhelmed. That leads to the third order. The undisciplined person often acts as if willpower must fight alone. He keeps the phone beside him and promises not to touch it. He fills the house with temptation and promises restraint. He leaves spending money unprotected and expects emotion to respect an invisible boundary. He waits until anxiety has grown for 10 hours before making the difficult call. He prepares nothing the night before and treats every predictable obstacle as a surprise. This is not courage, it is poor strategy. Roman armies fortified their camps, even after exhausting marches. They dug, organized, guarded, prepared. Disciplined soldiers did not consider unnecessary exposure to danger a mark of strength. They reduced avoidable vulnerability. That is Fortify. Do not arrange your environment so that your weakest impulse receives unlimited opportunities to command you. If the phone destroys your first hour, charge it outside the bedroom. If entertainment interrupts important work, block access during the protected period. If stress produces impulsive spending, automate savings before discretionary money becomes available. If the morning fails because preparation begins too late, place the clothing, equipment, water, and necessary materials where the action will begin. If anger repeatedly controls a conversation, decide beforehand that you will leave the room for 10 minutes before replying. If certain food repeatedly defeats your plan at midnight, do not rely on a philosophical debate at 11:30. Change what enters the house. The purpose of discipline is not to create impressive battles. The purpose is to protect the standard. The ego sometimes resists environmental design because it wants every victory to feel heroic. It wants the phone beside the hand. It wants temptation inside the cupboard. It wants unlimited access to money. It wants to walk through fire every day and remain untouched. But a person who repeatedly creates unnecessary temptation is not proving strength. He is protecting a performance. Fortification also includes ritual. A ritual is a decision embedded in time and place. The writer begins in the same chair. The athlete prepares the same equipment. The saver transfers money on the same date. The evening review happens before sleep. The action becomes connected to a stable cue until less negotiation is required. Without ritual, every difficult action demands a new act of heroism. With ritual, the action already has a place. At first, the alarm begins an argument. Later, it begins movement. At first, opening the document produces resistance. Later, it begins work. At first, criticism produces immediate defense. Later, it produces a breath. At first, boredom sends the hand toward the phone. Later, boredom becomes a sensation that can be observed without obedience. The environment teaches the body what happens next. Fortification also means controlling access to your attention. Modern weakness is often created not by unbearable hardship, but by constant interruption. Every notification trains the mind to abandon one reality for another. Every impulsive check teaches the body that concentration is temporary. Every unfinished task becomes evidence that discomfort can end the session. Create one protected period each day in which the most important work happens before messages, news, and entertainment enter. It does not need to last 3 hours. Begin with 25 minutes. Place the phone outside reach. Open only what the task requires. Then decide what you will do when the urge to escape appears. When I want to check something irrelevant, I will remain with the task for 5 more minutes. The 5 minutes are not magical. They reveal that the urge is temporary. It rises. It demands obedience. Then it changes. Every time you remain, the body receives evidence that discomfort does not require evacuation. Fortification extends into relationships. Before a difficult conversation, choose the standard. I will speak directly, without humiliation. I will ask one question before assuming intention. I will not send the message while my body is demanding revenge. I will leave if the boundary is crossed, but I will not perform rage to prove the boundary matters. Discipline does not require passivity. You may confront, refuse, leave, defend yourself, end a relationship, but the action should be chosen because it serves your values, not because another person discovered which emotional button makes you predictable. A person controlled by insult is not free. A person controlled by praise is not free. A person controlled by urgency, comfort, status, silence, or fear is not free. Fortification closes the openings through which those forces repeatedly enter, and sometimes discipline requires reinforcements. If alcohol, gambling, substances, compulsive behavior, or severe mental distress are damaging your life, environmental changes may not be enough. Professional treatment, medical guidance, social support, and accountability are not signs of weakness. A disciplined commander knows when the mission requires more than one soldier. No defensive line remains unbroken forever. You will fail. You will sleep through the alarm. You will reach for the phone. You will spend what you intended to save. You will lose your temper. You will abandon the work. You will choose relief. This is where most systems of discipline collapse. One mind says, "This proves I have not changed." Another responds with drama. "Tomorrow, I will wake at 4, fast all day, train twice, remove every pleasure, and rebuild my entire life." Both responses protect the ego. One creates surrender. The other creates theater. The fourth order rejects both. Return. A lapse becomes weakness when it is converted into permission. One failed morning does not require a failed afternoon. One impulsive meal does not require an abandoned week. One emotional reaction does not require days of self-justification. One missed session does not erase previous training. The most important repetition may not be perfect performance. It may be the return. Do not wait for Monday. Do not wait for the first day of the month. Do not wait until guilt becomes motivation. Restore the standard at the next available action. If the morning was lost, command the afternoon. If the planned meal was abandoned, return at the next meal. If anger escaped, take responsibility and repair what can be repaired. If you spent the money, stop the next purchase and examine the trigger. If you missed the protected work period, complete 10 focused minutes before the day ends. Perfection protects an image. Discipline protects continuity. Perfection says the line must never break. Discipline says the line must be restored. Return does not always mean repeating the same plan. Sometimes, returning means changing the plan so the standard can survive. If the routine repeatedly collapses, reduce it. If the training repeatedly injures you, correct it. If the command remains vague, make it physical. If the environment remains exposed, fortify it. If the goal no longer serves the mission, replace it. Adaptation is not surrender when it protects the purpose. This is why the 4 orders form a complete system. Locate where authority is lost. command the first physical action, fortify the environment around the standard, return immediately when the line breaks. Without locate, you fight an invisible enemy. Without command, insight never becomes behavior. Without fortify, willpower remains unnecessarily exposed. Without return, one failure becomes an identity. Locate, command, fortify, return. These are not four motivational words. They are four movements through which the body learns a new hierarchy. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet in the private notes, now known as the Meditations, he still had to argue against warmth, delay, irritation, grief, pride, and exhaustion. He reminded himself that he was rising to perform the work of a human being. This scene may be more useful than any legendary battlefield. The ego enjoys imagining courage during a final stand because the moment is dramatic and distant. The bed at dawn offers no glory. No historian records the moment. No monument is built because you rose when you promised yourself you would rise. That is why the moment is pure. The body requests comfort. The standard requests movement. Between them lies a decision so small that no one else may notice it, and so important that an entire character can be built from its repetition. Modern battlefields rarely announce themselves with shields or horns. They appear as a dark room and a silent alarm. They appear when important work becomes difficult and another screen offers escape. They appear when an argument heats the blood and the next sentence could either preserve dignity or reveal how easily you can be controlled. They appear at the moment of purchase, when the future is exchanged for temporary emotional relief. They appear when correction arrives and the ego begins preparing a defense before understanding what was said. They appear when you are tired enough to believe your promises no longer apply. The enemy is no longer standing across a field. It has learned to speak from inside your preferences. Ancient discipline must therefore be translated, not imitated. You do not need to sleep on stone. You do not need to march under a Roman standard. You do not need artificial suffering merely to feel severe. You need to identify where comfort has acquired command authority over your behavior. In physical training, discipline means progressive and intelligent effort. Begin at a level you can perform safely. Increase the challenge as capacity improves. Learn the difference between discomfort and damage. Heavy breathing, muscular fatigue, impatience, and the desire to stop are not automatically signs of danger. Sharp or worsening pain, dizziness, loss of control, or signs of injury should not be converted into heroic opportunities. The purpose is not to punish a body you hate. It is to build a body that has repeatedly met effort and learned that effort can be survived. At work, discipline means protecting the most important action before the day becomes crowded by reaction. Choose one period, 25 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour. The phone leaves reach. Unnecessary windows close. The predetermined task begins. When the urge to escape appears, remain for 5 more minutes. You are not proving that you can suffer. You are teaching the nervous system that the urge does not command evacuation. In money, discipline means separating future security from present emotion. Automate savings. Delay non-essential purchases. Create a waiting period for spending driven by anxiety, status, boredom, or comparison. Before buying, ask, what feeling am I trying to change? Would I still want this after 48 hours? What future choice am I surrendering to purchase this relief? Financial discipline is not permanent deprivation. It is the refusal to spend tomorrow merely because today became uncomfortable. In relationships, discipline means inserting judgment between feeling and action. When anger rises, close your mouth, lower your shoulders, take one full breath. Ask one question before making one accusation. The pause may last only seconds, but inside it, authority moves from impulse back to judgment. Perhaps the criticism is unfair. Perhaps the boundary has genuinely been crossed. Perhaps the relationship must change. Discipline does not require silence forever. It requires that the response be selected rather than triggered. In personal responsibility, discipline means completing work that no one will see. Train without posting it. Save without announcing it. Read without performing the identity of a reader. Clean the room. Finish the page. Prepare the meal. Keep the promise. Control the reply. The ego grows when every sacrifice becomes a performance. It weakens when the standard is maintained in silence. This is the modern shield wall. Your family, colleagues, partner, friends, and future self stand beside you. When you become punctual, another person's time no longer absorbs your disorder. When you become financially restrained, your future is no longer spent for a moment of relief. When you become difficult to provoke, other people can no longer control you through insult. When you become physically capable, effort stops appearing as an emergency. When your promises survive changes in mood, you become safer to trust. Discipline is not purely personal. Someone else often stands inside the consequences of your behavior. Do not leave this video admiring warriors. Admiration costs nothing. It allows you to feel close to discipline while remaining unchanged by it. The test begins when the screen goes dark and no music follows you into the room. Return to the battlefield you chose at the beginning. The alarm, the phone, the workout, the purchase, the difficult task, the angry reaction, the delayed conversation, the promise you repeatedly renegotiate. For the next 7 days, apply the 4 orders to that single scene. Do not attempt to transform your entire life. 1 battlefield, 1 command, 7 days. Your goal is not perfection. Your goal is evidence. Before day 1, write 4 sentences. The first sentence is, locate. The moment I usually surrender is, name the time, situation, and trigger. The moment I usually surrender is when my alarm sounds at 6:30 and I begin negotiating for more sleep. The moment I usually surrender is when focused work becomes confusing and I reach for my phone. The moment I usually surrender is when criticism creates heat in my chest and I begin defending myself. The second sentence is, command. When that moment arrives, my first physical action will be, feet touch the floor, phone enters another room, mouth closes for 1 breath, document opens, savings transfer begins, shoes go on. The action must be observable. At the end of the day, there should be no debate about whether it happened. The third sentence is fortify. To make obedience easier and escape harder, I will Place the alarm away from the bed. Charge the phone outside the room. Prepare the clothing before sleep. Block the distracting application. Automate the transfer. Write the sentence you will use during conflict. Remove the object that repeatedly defeats the plan. The fourth sentence is, return. If I fail, I will restore the standard by, name the next available action. Not tomorrow, not Monday, the next available action. If you miss the morning workout, complete 10 minutes later that day. If you react with anger, apologize and rehearse the replacement response. If you make the impulsive purchase, cancel or return it where possible and restore the limit immediately. If you abandon the work period, complete 10 focused minutes before sleep. Now create a simple 7-day record. Each day receives 4 marks. 1 mark for recognizing the trigger, 1 mark for performing the first physical action, 1 mark for using the environmental protection, 1 mark for returning on the same day if you failed. 4 possible marks each day, 28 marks across 7 days. Do not score your feelings. Do not score how impressive the action looked. Do not score how motivated you were. Score behavior. A score from 24 to 28 means the command is becoming reliable. A score from 18 to 23 means the system is working, but one weak position needs reinforcement. A score below 18 does not prove that you lack discipline. It usually means the command is too large, the trigger is poorly defined, or the environment remains exposed. Study the failure. Reduce the action. Strengthen the fortification. Repeat the test. On the 7th night, answer 3 questions. Which excuse appeared most often? Which environmental change helped the most? Did returning quickly matter more than performing perfectly? These questions reveal the architecture of your weakness. More importantly, they reveal that the architecture can be changed. At first, the body may increase the argument. The old pattern expects negotiation. It will tell you that 7 days are too small to matter. Then, after 1 failure, it will tell you the experiment has already been destroyed. Recognize both lies. 7 days are not enough to rebuild an entire character. They are enough to collect evidence. 1 failure does not destroy the experiment. Failure belongs inside the experiment because return is one of the 4 orders. You are not testing whether you can become perfect. You are testing whether your standard can survive changing emotions. After enough repetitions, something begins to shift. The alarm still sounds in darkness, but darkness no longer begins a courtroom debate. The task still becomes difficult, but difficulty no longer automatically opens another screen. Criticism still hurts, but the wound no longer chooses the weapon. Fear still enters, but it enters as information rather than command. Fatigue still appears, but it does not automatically dissolve the promise. You have not become invulnerable. You have become less governable by your first reaction. That is real strength. History is not valuable because the past was purer. It was not. Ancient warrior societies contained exploitation, brutality, vanity, political mythology, and catastrophic obedience. Their suffering should not be copied as costume, but buried inside their training traditions is a truth that modern comfort makes easy to forget. A human being can deliberately change what the body treats as normal. The body can learn that waiting is survivable. It can learn that effort is not an emergency. It can learn that fear may travel with you without choosing the destination. It can learn that the ego can be wounded without being obeyed. It can learn that your word remains in force after the feeling that created it has disappeared. You do not need a battlefield to prove this. You need a standard that matters, an action small enough to repeat, an environment designed to protect it, and the discipline to return when the line breaks. Locate the moment, command the action, fortify the standard, return to the line. The discipline that makes weakness leave your body will not arrive as rage. It will not arrive as a perfect morning. It will not arrive as a dramatic identity or a sudden absence of fear. It will arrive quietly, on an ordinary day. In a moment no one else sees, the old voice will tell you to stop. It will offer the same excuse that has worked for years, and for the first time, it will discover that the decision has already been made. Choose your battlefield, write your command, begin the 7 days. The body is listening, give it a new order.